Alright guys, give me just a few seconds here. Little house cleaning stuff here for just a second. I really appreciate everybody tuning in to this early edition. And for some of you it's the late edition. And yeah, so hopefully we'll have a good time. And talk about some, I've got quite a few things I want to talk about. I've got some things I'm going to talk about now. And I've got some things I'm probably going to rehash in the evening stream. And I may say, I've got some things I'm going to save for the evening stream that's going to be going on at 9 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. -5, Universal Time or Greenwich Mean Time, whatever you want to call it. But yes, so... let me check out the chat here on my phone. Let's see who we got here. So I see we've got let's see, Piss 1311. Let me turn my brightness up on my phone a little bit. Let's see, Piss 1311. Good evening. So you must be ahead of us. Bethany, hey Bethany, and we've got Kiss Band Fan, California, awesome. It's all for you, Demon. Shout out to Rick. Good to see you're here, man. And if you haven't seen my video with Rick on my channel, go check it out. We had a whole lot of fun, and it's been suggested that we do that more often. So me and Rick's definitely going to be teaming up. He's going to be becomes possibly sort of a co-host of sorts around here, because I really love working with Rick. Let's see, Eddie Thompson. Hey, Eddie. And so yeah, and Herbert Toth channel. All right, hello Herbert. It's good to see you. It's good to see everybody. And it's a Saturday here on the East Coast, and it is spring, early spring. It's still cold. It's still getting down into the lower 30s here Fahrenheit, and I don't know the translation or the for the Celsius. And we're getting up in the mid-50s during the day. But man, my pool in the backyard is calling me. I'm ready to be in that pool. So ready. It's still too cold though. I'm not into polar jumping or polar ice jumping or whatever like the Canadians do. I remember one time going down to the beach several years ago, way years back, and taking the kids and the family down to the beach. And it was in February, and my son Steven was just born. He was maybe a year old, if that. And we were down there in February, and there was people down there getting in the ocean and the water was frigid. And we started asking around and finding out that they were from Canada, and it was not a big deal to them to get in that kind of water. So I'm going to be checking. If you see me looking down like this, I'm not trying to ignore you. I've got my phone here. I don't have the stream originating out of my phone. It's originating out of my computer here. And I don't want to try to break the internet doing this, but I'm going to show you basically what I see here. If I look to my right, basically you see here the computer is there. And I don't have shoes on again today. I very rarely have shoes on in my house. And there's the microphone, and there is my coffee. And so yeah, so for those of you who haven't been on, there's the vacuum cleaner. For those of you who haven't been in on some of the streams before, I'll show you a little around the little studio here. There is the poster that I was gifted by a fan of the channel. There's my Motley Crue albums, and we're going to be talking some Motley Crue here shortly. There is my Pyromania album that I just reviewed or did a retrospect on as part of my retrospect series. And over here on Kiss, I've still got this era here of The Elder, Lick It Up, and Animalize. I've still got that there. And if you come on around, there's one of the grandkids' little hop and jumps. There is my secondary camera that I'm not using right now with a light on it. There's Walking Dead poster. There's a couple PCs hiding back there in the corner for some tech stuff. And here's my drum set here. And that basically right now, if I'm looking at that part of the room, this is my basic view. Right here in front of me is the camera. So whenever I'm talking to you guys, I see a camera and I see that view right there. And it's a beautiful sunny day outside. And it's a good day to just be making some, being outside, which I'm going to do later. I'm going to go outside and do some stuff between this stream and the next stream. So let me get this back centered in back here. But yeah, I'd like for you guys to see a little behind the scenes stuff there. I've actually got a video getting ready to come out. I'm a small YouTuber now, so they send you these questions for you to answer and make a video on. And they sent me 20 questions for me to answer. And some of the questions is what equipment I use to film with, what I use to edit with, and I'll be answering those questions in that video, as well as other questions. You can probably look for that sometime this week. So I am gonna read the chats here really quick. Hilbert Toth, I've seen your channel yet? No, Hilbert or Herbert, I have not, but I will check it out. Superkiss 1200, how's it going? How's it going, man? Thanks, Herbert. I appreciate that you like my channel. Superkiss, I love Animalize. That's awesome. Crazy Nights, that's awesome. And then John Edwards is in here. Hello, Brand. I finally found you. I was working on my TV. Was watching on my TV. That's awesome, John. I appreciate. It's funny because I see the analytics each month, and I'll keep a check on this. As you guys, that's what I'm basically looking at. I'll keep a check on this as I'm going. So if you have any questions or anything, ring in there. We're going to get talking about some stuff here in just a minute. But I look on my analytics, and it's interesting to see all the different ways that I get watched. It really surprised me that I got watched on actual televisions as much as I do. And that's kind of cool to be on TV rather than be on a small screen or a tablet or an iPad or something like that. But that's really cool. I watch most podcasts on my phone just because of convenience. But it would be really cool to see some of Rick's big Kiss memorabilia on the TV. And I'm always jealous of that. But Rick, I saw your video you put out. I saw the one this morning. I watched it, Rick, while I was making breakfast, and I saw the one about the sticky things, whatever you call them. You chat it in down there, and check out, guys. When I say Rick, I'm talking about It's All For You Demon down there. Check his channel out. Sub to his channel if you haven't yet. He's got some really cool Kiss memorabilia stuff. I love his dogs. I feel like I know Large Marge and Pee Wee already through his channel. And I can't get my dogs to get on camera. Every time I try to get my dogs to get on camera, they run and hide. So I can't get my dogs. One of these days, I'm going to just have to bring them in here and grab them and hold them up and say, here's my dogs. They're not like Rick's dogs that just lay around and let him take videos of him and, only act slightly annoyed about it. But the video that you put out, Rick, of the Kiss jackets, I saw that and I commented, and you saw my comment, I think, where I talked about I still have to look for mine. And I am going to clean my closet out. My closet's in the bedroom on the other side of this wall, and I'm going to clean my closet out today. And I'm going to look and see if I can find that jacket for this evening's live stream. But I could have swore my jacket there at the end on yours, where it just went down to the tie vac with the elastic on it, I could have swore that mine had like a blue fabric wrist there. Because I think at one point in time I got a little too big for it. I know that mine has like a little tear in the arms where I might have got a little too husky. I was husky as a kid. I'm even more husky now. And I think mine has some tears under the arms, just a little tear in the fabric. And I think that my actual band is cut because where my hands got too big to get through it, I cut it to make it, to make it so I could get my hand through it. And so, like I said, I know I have it somewhere, and it's going to drive me crazy until I find it. But I know I have it somewhere. So, so let's get back to the comments here. Deliverer's best friend, watch on PlayStation 4 from Germany. Awesome. Awesome. And I got the chat open on the phone. I've recently started really finding out I've got a bunch of international fans. I've got people from Italy, several fans from Germany, and I have several fans from Germany, and I have some of them they have interest in wanting to be on the show, and I want them to be on the show. If you are an international viewer and you want to maybe possibly do a Skype with me for a video sometime in the future, just let me know. Leave me a comment on this video, and I'll get in touch with you via, or you can leave me a comment on my Facebook Messenger. It's my Facebook social media page is In My Head YouTube channel. That's the name. If you go on Facebook and you look for In My Head, you can also find links in a lot of my videos. If you look in any of my videos, the description, you can find the links to that. And so, just looked it up. Some do have a cloth wrist. That's awesome. So see, yeah, I knew I was not crazy because, like I said, I haven't seen that thing. I've seen it since I've been in this house. Which has been 5 years, because we built this house 5 years ago. So I've seen it since I've been in this house. But so I'm going to find it. And if I can't find it, it's going to break my heart. But international viewers, if you want to be in a video with me sometime, because I really want to hear an international viewer's view on Kiss. Because Kiss is different in so many different places, like Rick's talked about, and I know you know how Kiss was so huge in Australia, especially during the Unmasked time. When they put out the Unmasked album, they basically only toured in Australia for that. And I know that they're really big in Brazil. They've played into a lot of people in Brazil, and I know that they are, but I'm not real sure how they've always been conceived in other places, like in Italy or Japan or in Germany or in Europe or Britain and places like that. So definitely, if you're interested in coming on and coming in via Skype, if you got a webcam and got a decent internet connection, it'd be really cool to do a video Skype with you sometime and just have that part of an episode. And so, yeah, so just chat that in. You like to watch my channel because I'm as great as Eddie Trunk. Well, that's kind of humbling to be compared to Eddie Trunk, but I would like to be like Eddie Trunk in some aspects and not like Eddie Trunk in others. So, you know, I'll take that with a grain. I'll take that as a compliment. Before we get started, I don't know if you watched. I'm going to put my phone aside for a second because I won't be able to really see comments. But if you watched my video, the one I just put out, I watched The Dirt. I know that some of you've not watched it. So, and I know, like Rick, I know you're waiting on your buddies this evening. I'm not going to spoil it for you. If I talk, and I am going to talk about The Dirt, but I'm going to talk about it very generically and hopefully not spoil it to you. Maybe just mostly maybe entice you if you've not seen it yet. And for those, there's some people in here that hadn't seen it. So if you've seen it, don't spoil it for people because I hate spoilers, especially when you don't know they're coming. But I made a video about it. I'd watched it just then, and I finished it within like 5 minutes, and I made that video within 5 minutes of watching the movie. And I watched it again last night, and I've watched it again this morning. And I'll probably watch it again today, sometime during the day, because I'm kind of obsessing over it a little bit because I'm looking at it. The first time it was just kind of taking it in, and the second and third time I've caught some things. And, I've caught some things, and I can tell you this. If you haven't seen my video, go check it out, because I've got some cool things I showed in the video, but I actually showed some other things, and I cut it out. So I'm going to show those things here in a second, because I wanted the video to stay kind of short, around 10 minutes, which I think it was a little over. But let me tell you this going into the video. If you've not watched the movie, let me tell you this going into it. It is made for, if you've read the Dirt book, don't even bother comparing it to the book. You never can compare a movie to the book. And, you always hear the same cliche, the book's better. It's real hard. I was really hoping that they would do this in some kind of like a mini-series, like a 4-part or a 6-part, something like that. But it is only one series. It is only one show. It's a movie about an hour and 50 minutes long. They focus on one member of the band a lot, and they hit the peaks of things. They get things out of order. They take a lot of creative, they make a lot of creative decisions, and they do swap things around, things that happens. There's omissions of from the band. You know, Tommy Lee has one love interest that's in the movie, but he had another love interest that was completely omitted. You know, like I said, I'm not saying who, I'm not saying what, because I don't, you know, but there's some time inconsistencies in the very beginning. I want to see if you Kiss fans notice it. In the very beginning, there is a very serious time inconsistency. Don't chat it out, because like I said, I'm not trying to spoil it. But do I like it? Yes. My wife, who is what I would consider a casual Motley Crue fan, but I was talking with her this morning, and she says that Motley Crue is probably in her top 3 favorite bands of all times. Because she's younger than me. I'm almost 50. She just turned 44, 43. Sorry, 43, and so she is younger than me, and so Kiss was, you know, or Motley Crue was popular when she was younger, and Motley Crue was popular when I was throughout my mid-teens, from 12, 13, all the way up through into my early 20s. I followed Motley Crue from Too Fast for Love all the way to Dr. Feelgood. After Dr. Feelgood, when Vince left the band and they replaced Vince, I kind of fell off. And I never really returned as a fan because I just liked that era. I heard albums and I heard stuff from the other stuff and everything. And there's been some good stuff there. I'm not saying they didn't do anything good after Dr. Feelgood, or none of that stuff was good. It's just that I wasn't a fan of the band so much after that time, actively. I saw them with every tour, from Shout at the Devil, Theater of Pain, Girls, 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 Dr. Feelgood. I think I actually saw them twice on the Girls, Girls, Girls tour. And, you know, I've got some things here I'm going to show about that. But they take a lot of liberties, and they move a lot of things around. But my wife, who is a casual fan, loved it. She loved it, loved it. I love it. I'm a hardcore Motley Crue fan. I still loved it. I put aside the omissions. I put aside the liberties with the story. I put aside the, like I said, the time inconsistencies. I put that aside, and I just enjoyed the movie. It's a great movie. If you go into it with that mentality, as you want to be entertained by a band, and she said after the movie, she's like, I enjoyed it because I learned things about Motley Crue that I didn't know. Now, like I said, there are some things in there, and I kind of told her, I was like, well, this didn't happen that way, it happened this way. And this didn't happen that way, it happened this way. And this actually happened, and she actually brought up something, oh yeah, well, they left that totally out. And that's a big deal. And I was like, yeah, they left that out. For whatever reason, they left it out. So, but we both enjoyed it. I love it. Like I said, I'm looking forward to my 4th time watching it. And I'm probably going to burn this movie up for a while now. I can tell you that, because I'm a Motley Crue fan. I'm genuinely entertained. And my God, every time I watch it, I fall in love with Mick Mars just a little more. If you've been following my social media posts, they've been all about Mick Mars. And I fucking love Mick Mars and his character, the way his character and the way he's portrayed in this movie. I freaking love it. I think all 4 of the characters was portrayed very fairly. I think that they were portrayed accurately. I've seen the things people talking about bad acting, you know, bad script writing and blah, 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 and all this other stuff, bad hair. But I think they did a good job. It didn't feel like a parody. If it feels like a parody, it probably feels like a parody to people who didn't grow up during that time. But I grew up during that time, so it didn't feel like a parody to me. But they got the instruments right. They got the stages right. They got the overall different eras of the bands and the band and the equipment they used. They got it right. And, you know, it was just really cool. It was like you were there with them as they were going through the things they were going through. So I really enjoyed it, and I'm definitely going to watch it again. So I'm going to check. The comments here for just a second. Bethany's watching on an iPad, typing on the iPhone. Poster put-ons. Yeah, they're poster put-ons. Let's see. Deliver's best fan. I like to chat about Kiss. I only listen to them excessively for a year. I'm 30 now. That's cool. Hi from Florida. Hey Dan. In my opinion, Motley Crue album with John Corabi is an awesome album. I've been asked by somebody to review that album, and I plan on doing that. I might not get to it for a little bit, but I can actually tell you this, that I've got very little exposure to that album. I've got more exposure to Generation Swine and Saints of Los Angeles, but I am going to dive into that Motley Crue album and check that out. Tommy's drumming on that album is amazing. And I love Tommy. Tommy was a very influential person to me playing drums. When I heard him, you know, I grew up listening to Elvis's drummer, and then I grew up listening, and then after that I was listening to Peter Criss, and then I listened to Tommy Lee. And Tommy Lee, the band, and Motley Crue as a band, Mick Mars, his playing, and Tommy Lee's playing, and just the sound of Vince Neil's voice, you know, it was all very iconic. That's what I was talking about with my wife too, is that they were very iconic. They were like Kiss, and they very heavily modeled themselves unknowingly after Kiss with the theatrics and the pyro. It was funny because there's a part in the movie, I can't say that. Okay, never mind, sorry. You'll see what I'm talking about. If you think the same thing I did, you're going to go, oh, just like Kiss. You'll see the part in the movie I'm talking about. But yeah, they were like the Beatles in a way, 4 iconic different personalities. Kiss, 4 iconic different personalities. Motley Crue, 4 iconic different personalities. So much to the point that that's the kind of a band that you almost cannot have a member in the band without it causing you some harm in your following. And they found that out with John Corabi. They found that out when they got Vince Neil back, and then they didn't have Tommy Lee. You know, they had Randy Costello, and they had a female. I can't remember her name. The only reason I remember Randy Costello is because he played for Ozzy for a while. And I think Randy Costello is a phenomenal drummer. But I can't remember the name. If somebody can remember the name, you know, you can chat it in there. But you can't have Motley Crue without having all 4 guys. And you can't almost have Kiss without all 4 guys unless you're using their makeup. I'm done with that. All right. So, Tommy's drumming is awesome. Movie's not on Netflix in Germany yet. Okay. I'm sorry about that, but hopefully it comes to you guys too. Watch the movie Dirt Well. I like the movie. I couldn't agree more about the movie. Great era to grow up in. Yes, Wayne White, it certainly as hell was. You're right, Motley Crue guys are icons. Maybe we should watch the Dirt on your live video stream if possible. Samantha Maloney, yeah. They won't let me, if I try to stream the Dirt on like something like this, they'll shut it down, and then they'll copyright infringe it in a quickness. I'm pretty sure. So sorry. I don't even stream copyrighted music in my live video. If you get here early during the countdown, the band that you hear is actually my band called Lydia's Bridge, and that song is called Severed Rain. I like playing it because it's about 5 minutes long. It's long enough for me to do the countdown, for people to get in, for me to get situated, and to get enough people in on the stream to where nobody's missing out if they come in. And that's me playing the drums on that. So, and that song is 3 guys. It's me, my friend Scott Peterson, we call him Sketo, and my friend Scott Henderson, who's been in some reviews with me. He reviewed Animalized with me, and he reviewed Asylum with me. He plays the bass in that band, and that's me playing the drums. And the guitar that you hear, that I'm going to blow your mind if you ever go back and listen to If you catch my streams, or if you hear that at the beginning, or watch it on the replay, the guitar you hear is all acoustic. He had this way of running his acoustic through all these different types of effects pedals, and he could make his acoustic sound almost like a distorted Les Paul. That solo is done on I think that solo, I can't remember the solo itself. I think the solo may actually be done on an electric guitar, but all the stuff that you hear, all the distorted that you hear during the verse and the chorus and the introduction and all that stuff, that's him punching in and punching out of distortion. And so it's really cool. So John Edwards, then yeah, let's not do that. Before I get off on talking about Kiss stuff, and like I said, this I kind of tried to allude that this was going to be kind of a stream, and this evening where we talked about Kiss and talking about the Dirt, because I really associate. Does any of y'all, and I want you to chat in, does any of y'all closely associate Kiss and Motley Crue? I mean, do they, like, when you think of Kiss, do you think of Motley Crue? When you think of Motley Crue, do you think of Kiss? Or is it me just because I grew up in that era, and right about the time Motley Crue was coming on the scene, for me, as I was growing up through the 80s, Kiss was going into this Asylum, Crazy Nights, Hot in the Shade phase, where they kind of made me fall off. But then bands like Motley Crue and Guns N' Roses took over. But when I think about Guns N' Roses, I don't think about Motley Crue. Or when I think about, sometimes when I think about Rat, I think about Motley Crue, because Motley Crue and Rat, even though they weren't as big and weren't as iconic as Motley Crue, they have that same feel to them, and kind of where they're intermeshed a little bit. But when I think about Kiss, I think about Motley Crue, and I'm just kind of, they really too coincide the same with me. Let's see, Motley Crue does remind me of Kiss. Let's see. I don't associate the two that way. Never associated one with each other. Yeah, and like I said, I don't know if I associate them. It's just me growing up through it, I think of the two because Motley Crue borrowed heavily from Kiss. You just have to watch some of their early videos. Live Wire, Mick Mars is bleeding blood. Tommy sets his pants on fire. Nikki Sixx or Vince Neil, they have heads and skulls and even lanterns and stuff and everything in the background and stuff like that. So they borrowed very heavily from Kiss, just as Kiss borrowed from New York Dolls and Alice Cooper and the Beatles and kind of made everything their own. Kiss kind of did, Motley Crue kind of did the same thing. Not intentionally borrowed from Kiss, but they were influenced by Kiss, you know. So growing up through that. Let's see. Yes, because they did costumes as well. I know which album by their costumes. And I kind of agree with that too. And it was funny to see with Shout at the Devil. I think Shout at the Devil was their most Kiss-esque costumes, because they had the leather and they looked the most Kiss-esque. They had Mick Mars had the makeup down the side of his face, and he had the pentagram headband, and they all had the Nikki Sixx had what I call the football grease paint, and Tommy had the Native American war paint on his face. So they just I kind of associated the two of them together. But anyway, I recommend watching The Dirt for those of you who can. For those of you who don't have The Dirt available to you yet, like, sorry, Germany friends. I'm sorry that you don't have it yet. I highly recommend you giving it at least 2 watches. Watch it one time and then watch it again. And tell me what you think. Like I said, I've got that video where I posted what I think about it, where I've kind of talked a little bit about that in this, but not really fully. So you can watch that and you can comment down in there. It's blowing up kind of. It went live last night, not even 24 hours ago. It's already got close to 1,000 views. So I think that's pretty cool. But talking about the stuff that I had, I got my tickets here. I've got some of my tickets. And how many of you remember these tickets? Y'all remember these tickets? These old school These old school tickets like this, y'all remember these? These are my 2 tickets from Motley Crue. And one of them is from when I saw them at Girls, Girls, Girls. And one is for Dr. Feelgood. And it's cool because the black has like glitter in it. And I don't know if it quite picks it up on the video. It does a little bit right there. But that's really cool. And it also, you can feel it. It's like a vinyl or something that's on there. And you rub it across your fingers and you can feel it. But there's 2 of my tickets, Motley Crue. Look at that ticket price right there, $14.50. How would you like to get some of them ticket prices nowadays? $14.50. And these were in the Charlotte Coliseum in Charlotte. And I also have, I showed those 2 last night in my video, but I also showed these, but I cut it because the video was getting a little long. But I didn't cut this. This is a balloon that they dropped during the Girls, Girls, Girls tour. This was blown up. And it's got Girls, Girls, Girls on there. It's kind of hard to see. I don't dare blow it up because you can just feel it kind of being gummy in my hands. I'm trying to get it turned the best way there. There it is. Motley Crue, Girls, Girls, Girls. They dropped these from the ceiling, and I got one and came home with me. I also caught a stick at one of the tours, Tommy's, and it was cool because you could see where on the stick it looked like his drum tech or somebody had scraped the vinyl, the finish off of the drumstick to give it a little bit of a grip. And you can see where the sticks were hard. They were like a heavy maple. And you could just see these big, huge gashes where he was just banging the shit out of his cymbals. And they didn't get played very long. They didn't have a lot of chew up from the hi-hat. I think he threw them out during a solo or whatever, at the end of a solo or somewhere doing that. He'd throw sticks out like crazy. And but they had these big, huge gashes in them. And so I had a stick from, and I don't know where it's at. It's here somewhere. It's in one of my boxes. But I showed these last night, and I didn't, I cut it because I didn't want the video to get too long. But here's a ticket from when I saw Kiss. This was the Asylum tour. When I saw Kiss, and that was January 6th, 1985 was when I saw Kiss, and I think one of these other tickets had a date on it. Yeah, here's Motley Crue, November 11th, 1987. That was Girls, Girls, Girls tour. And I got some others here. Mentioned Rat earlier. I've got a Rat ticket here. And I saw Rat on the Dancing Undercover and Invasion of Your Privacy tour. This is from December 7th, 1986. So I believe that is probably maybe Invasion of Your Privacy, if I'm not mistaken. And then I have one here. I don't know when the date was, but it was $13.50, and it was Rat. And if you look there, Rat had Bon Jovi opening for him. And I think this was actually, because Cheap Trick opened for him on this tour. I remember that. And Rat, you just see the very end of the T right there. You can barely see it. And I hated getting the short end of the stubs. And I hated getting the one that didn't have the dates. One had the price and the other side had the date. And then I saw Stryper in concert. So I got a Stryper ticket. And then May 1st of 1986, I saw Ozzy. So, you know, my 84, 85, 86, 87 was basically spent going to concerts. And that's some of my tickets, but not all of them. So let's see. Let's check on some chats here. Motley was always a year ahead of the rest of the Sunset Strip acts. Leather Glam, Girls, Girls, Girls. Everyone else kind of followed. Yeah, and I think they did. I think they kind of set the stage. They kind of set the standard. And Motley Crue was one of those A copies. And then the rest of the 80s was followed by B copies, C copies, D copies, and you had copies of copies. And that's what, in my opinion, it wasn't the grunge and 90s metal or 90s music did not kill metal. Bands like Motley Crue burning out, living excessively, or having shitty third and fourth albums is what caused metal to die, in my opinion. Because sometimes bands made better second albums than they did their first albums, or just as good, or improved, like Motley Crue. Too Fast for Love, great album. Shout the Devil, phenomenal album. LA Guns, their first album, great album. Their second album, Cocked and Loaded, forget about it. Cocked and Loaded is amazing. Even Rat. Rat, I think Rat is one of those bands. I love they had the EP, but then they had their first album, Out of the Cellar, and then Dancing Undercover was good. It's got a lot of B-sides and a lot of deep tracks. My favorite Rat album is probably, not Dancing Undercover, Invasion of Your Privacy. I always call Invasion of Your Privacy Dancing Undercover. But Dancing Undercover is probably my favorite Rat album. But I do like, I really do like the Rat albums before that. Let's see, checking chats here right quick. And then I'm going to change the subject. We're going to talk about something entirely different. I have a ticket. John says I have a ticket from Kiss and Love Gun. Wayne Wright, I saw Rat 3 times on the Invasion tour. Bon Jovi opened all 3 times. You attended and made great concerts. What was your favorite concert you've ever been to? Shame to Cheap Trick never really exploded. Favorite concert I've ever been to? Wow, because I've been to so many. I've seen Metallica in the round. I've seen Queensryche when they did the tour for Empire, and they did the entire Operation Mindcrime album in live to make the Operation Live Crime video, which is amazing. Saw Guns N' Roses several times. There's a lot of bands I never got to see that I really wish I would have. I never got to see Typo Negative. I never got to see Alice in Chains. I really would have liked to saw those. Probably my favorite concert I've ever been to. Wow, man, that's hard. That's hard to really say, because I've been to so many that not really one sticks out more than the other. The first time I saw Guns N' Roses was pretty phenomenal. It was on the Appetite for Destruction tour, and they had blown up. I mean, they had just freaking blown up. And I remember the energy that was coming off of that band, and that original incarnation of that band with Izzy and Steven and everybody, along with Duff and Slash and Axl, before they got bloated and started changing members. That original hungry, even when they were blowing up, they were still hungry. That was an amazing show. But others, man, it's just, God, it's really hard to tell. It's really hard to say. Let me drink my coffee real quick, and then I'm going to change subject. I do have notes, some things we're going to be going over here. Some of this is going to be for now. Some of this is going to be for later. So, if you've watched some of the earlier live video I did, Herbert, what was the favorite Kiss tour I attended? Wow. Honestly, the best Kiss show I ever been to, the one that is the most magical to me and I hold the deepest in my heart, was the tour for Dynasty. It was the very first time I saw Kiss. It was in 1979. I was 10 years old, and it was still the original members, and that was a phenomenal show. And me and my sister and my aunts, I remember my aunts and my sister took me and my sister, and we had a phenomenal time. It was amazing. And I've seen Kiss with other tours. I've seen them on the Creatures of the Night tour. I saw them on the Animalized tour. I saw them on the Asylum tour. I saw them on the reunion tour, and I like the reunion tour too. That was magical for me too, because even though I'm a fan of all eras of Kiss, and I'm a fan of all incarnations of Kiss, because I'm a Kiss fan, there's something about those original four dudes, man. There's something about it. The same thing with Motley Crue. The same thing with the original Guns N' Roses. There's something about... I had the opportunity to go see Guns N' Roses when they reformed, but without Steven. He showed up for a couple shows, and definitely without Izzy. And to me, if you listen to Appetite for Destruction, they do a hard pan stereo left and right, and they've got Slash for the most part in one speaker. I think it's the right. And they have Izzy for the most part in the left speaker. And if you listen to what Izzy's over there laying down, as opposed to what Slash is over there laying down, it sounds like two different songs. But their styles of music just mesh together so well. And I think it was Mike Klink that produced that album. But he did a phenomenal job. And he did it on analog tape too. He did it. It was one of the last, I don't know if it was the last Guns N' Roses they did on analog tape. I can't remember. But it's done on analog tape. And he did a phenomenal job. But my favorite Kiss show would probably have to be my first one. It's the one that will always be the most special to me. Even though I remember some of the other ones a little better because I was older, that's hands down my favorite Kiss show. Just reading what John said. He was talking about the tours he's seen. You guys in the chat, y'all can see that there. And so, I got some stuff I want to talk about here. So, if you watched the first live stream, we kind of talked about, we went through my Kiss catalog, and we talked about which one was your first Kiss album, what was some of your favorite tracks off of the album, and this, that, and the other. And we worked our way all the way to Dynasty. And so I wanted to do something concerning the Kiss albums. And I'm going to talk about, I want to know which one you think is the best of the first three Kiss albums. Just the first three. So we're dealing with the first Kiss album, which makes a cameo appearance in the movie. We're talking about Higher Than Hell. And we're talking about Dress to Kill. So out of these first three albums, what's your favorite album and why? And what memories do you have attached to that album? And while you're chiming in down there, I'm going to go ahead. While you're chiming in on your chat, I'm going to go ahead and talk about the three albums and what I like about each one of them, what I don't, and then tell you which one is my favorite and why. The first three Kiss albums were originally kind of foreign to me, because if you know my story, you know that I discovered Kiss through getting Destroyer purchased for me after Elvis passed away. And then shortly after that, within like 2 weeks, I received Kiss Alive 2. So all the tracks that's on Kiss Alive 2, I loved. And I experienced them all as live versions first, except for the versions of like King of the Nighttime World, Detroit Rock City, Beth, stuff that basically came off of the Destroyer album. And so it was later that I started getting albums from, like albums like Love Gun, Rock and Roll Over, from Columbia Record Music, or from J. Joe's Record Store, or from the record bar at the mall. I didn't have, and since Kiss had this rule back then where they would not repeat songs on a live album, Alive 2 didn't have any songs on it that Alive 1 did. So I didn't know those songs existed. And, since there wasn't a thing like the internet or YouTube or something like that where you could just go look it up and listen to them, there wasn't streaming, if you didn't hear it on the radio. I remember hearing, when I started listening to Kiss, I remember hearing on the radio the song Rock and Roll All Night. And I remember thinking that that was a new Kiss song possibly because it wasn't on any of the albums I had. Come to find out, it was an old Kiss song. So it was like, then I remember I got Alive because my mom knew that I really liked Kiss Live too, so she bought me Alive, so I wanted Alive. And then there was all these songs on it that I'd never heard. And I started listening to them, and then I started getting these 3 albums through either Record Bar, Columbia House, or whatever, or J. Joe's Records. And these 3 albums were kind of foreign to me for a while because I liked the live versions a little better than I liked the studio versions. And so it took me a while to dive into these albums, but once I did, I really enjoyed them. But I'm going to talk about each one of them. Kiss the first Kiss debut album, it's the one with all the classics, and this is the one that a lot of people, of the first 3, this is their favorite. And it's funny because everybody has, it's kind of sometimes divided over the first 3. There's a lot of good songs on here, but I don't really, and I never really have liked how slow they were or how muddy they were because I had Kiss Alive as comparisons. And so when you have Firehouse that on Kiss Alive is played at the speed of like dun 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 dun, and on here it's played at dun 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 dun. It's played slower. Kind of turned me off. But I love this album. I appreciate it for what it is and everything, and I spin it all the time. But it's not my favorite of the first 3 Kiss albums. So put it back in here. Now the second album, Higher Than Hell. To a lot of people, this is their favorite album because they actually consider this a heavy metal album. This is Kiss doing heavy metal. And I've heard people actually say that Kiss was not this heavy again until Creatures of the Night and things of that nature. This album is, if I didn't like the muddiness of the first album, I don't like the muddiness of this one even more. And this album, to me, has more B-side type songs to it, but it has some really good songs, like Parasite. One of my favorite Kiss songs, Parasite. But also, also the first Kiss album has one of my favorite Kiss songs, Deuce and Firehouse. So I'm not saying there's not good songs on them, but the overall muddiness of this album and some of the songs on it, there being a little more songs on it that I don't care for than I do like, doesn't make this my favorite Kiss album either, or of the first 3. So that leaves us with Dressed to Kill. And you know, the first couple albums was produced by Eddie Kramer and Richie Wise, Kramer and Wise. This was actually produced by Neil Bogart, and Kiss basically produced this. Neil Bogart was just in there turning the knobs, trying to save money, because Kiss couldn't even afford a producer. They were so broke at this time, and Neil Bogart's credit card was stretched, and so was Bill Aucoin's was stretched. They were basically living and funding Kiss off of his American Express card, and so Kiss was basically going broke here. They're so broke, these aren't even their suits. Peter was the only one that owned the suit. The other 3 guys had to borrow some suits from Bill Aucoin. And Gene, if you look, his pants are like this much too short. Because that's not his pants. So, but I love this album. It doesn't have the most iconic songs on it as the other 2 albums, but it's got some amazing songs on it, and it's got one of my favorite Kiss songs of all times on it, She. It's got songs like Love Her All I Can, which I think is amazing. Come On and Love Me is one of my favorite Paul Stanley songs. Rock Bottom is an awesome song. I mean, come on. I mean, but it does have some stinkers. It's got Getaway. Getaway's good, but it does have some stinkers like I consider, like Two-Timer, Ladies in Waiting. You know, I'm not a big fan of a lot of the Gene songs off of this album, but out of the first 3 Kiss albums, this one is my favorite. Not by much, but out of the first 3 Kiss albums, this is my favorite. So, I'm going to put these albums up, and I'm going to read some chats here because I want to hear what you guys are digging as far as these first three albums. So Herbert says that Kiss is the best of the first three. John says Dress to Kill hands down, but the first album was great also. Bethany says Hotter Than Hell. Yeah, Rick says I would say Kiss. It's kind of the essential Kiss album. And you know, and I agree. I agree that the first Kiss album is probably if you take away the live albums, the first Kiss album is probably the quintessential Kiss. It's the one that basically introduces you to this is Kiss. You know, just like they did the mock of this is Say Hello to the Beatles, or this is the Beatles, this is Kiss. You know, and even, you know, right there on the cover, up close and everything. So, but I agree with everybody's points. I do think that I do think that Hotter Than Hell is the heaviest sounding. It's got that, you know, sound about it that is just really cool. But it is also, for me, it's kind of muddied. So, and you know, and that's the cool thing about we all have our own opinions, and that's cool. Ronnie Parker, Space Ace Ron from Kingsport, Tennessee. Good to see you, man. Good to see you, Ronnie. Glad to see that you could make it. Just checking stuff here. All right. So, in the second live feed, if you're here, we're going to talk about our favorites of the second three Kiss albums, Destroyer, Rock and Roll Over, and Love Gun, but not right now. Okay, so I was asked by a couple people in the last live feed to do a couple things. I was asked to take 20 tracks and make the best 70s live album. And I was going to include tracks off of Dynasty also. So if I was going to, from the first Kiss album, not including the solo albums, but from the first Kiss album, or would we include the solo albums? I know that they included solo album songs on Dynasty. So yes, include songs from the solo albums. If you want to do your homework for tonight, 20 songs, make a 20 song live set from the 70s, from the first album all the way to Dynasty, and include the solo albums if you will, because I think I'll include the solo albums too. My list is not quite done because I procrastinated a little bit and I don't have my list ready. So if you're going to be here for the live feed later on, be sure to be here for that, and go ahead and work on your list because I want to hear it. What I'm going to talk about in just a second is I'm going to talk about the 1978 solo albums. Now, I've heard this theorized before on other podcasts, and I have two schools of thought on it. What if Kiss had not made the solo albums, and they would have took that material that they had on the solo albums and made a solo album? Or not made a solo album, but made a studio album, a 1978 studio album in between Double Platinum and Dynasty. If they would have made an album, what would it have looked like? What would it have sounded like? I have two actually, and I went ahead and made mine 10. I know that we talked about this in the last live feed, and Bethany actually already sent me hers, and if she wants to type hers in a little bit, that she can. But I think she went with 12 songs. I only went with 10 because Kiss during this time was only doing 10 songs on their albums, if 10. Some of the songs, one of the albums I think was Destroyer, they only had 9. So I stuck with that 10, 5, and 5 format, and I made 2 lists, and I want to see what you guys think. If you agree, if you don't agree, and I know you're not going to agree. I mean, because we all going to have our opinion about this, but I just want to see what you guys think. Now, When it came to making an album instead of solo albums, using the solo album material in 1978, there are two universes you can live in doing this. You can live in the realistic 1978 environment of political agendas and egos that would have shaped the 1978 album. Or you can live in, make your playlist, and this is what I think it should have been had I been the guy, the A&R rep that was calling the shots, and Kiss didn't have any creative influence over what songs was put on the album or recorded for the album and which one wasn't. If I was presented with all the songs, these are the songs I would have told them to record and put on the album. So, having said that, the first list I'm going to talk about is I'm going to talk about if Kiss had made the album in 1978 from the solo albums, but used it, but took in account the politics of the band and their egos during that time. It would look a lot different than you actually think it would look. So this is what I think would have happened. I think we would have the album that would have looked very similar to this. The opening track would have been Paul, Tonight You Belong to Me, because Paul opened their albums. Next, you would have had Radioactive from Gene Simmons, because Gene, if you didn't have two Paul tracks in a row, you weren't going to have an Ace track or a Peter track before you have a Gene track. You know, it wasn't going to happen. Even though it did happen on this album, if I'm not mistaken, wasn't Dynasty the second, wasn't 2000 Man the second track on Dynasty? I believe it was, wasn't it? Now, do y'all know sometimes I just play dumb and I actually know the answer to the question I'm asking, and sometimes I don't? Yes, as a matter of fact, 2000 Man was the second track on Dynasty. So, that was directly because of, I believe, and the amount of songs Ace has on that album was directly because of the success of Ace's solo album. But now you have to remember, up to this point, the only success we have from Ace is Shock Me and Rocket Ride. We haven't had Ace's solo album yet, so you can't take that Ace being a powerhouse that he became on the Dynasty album and on the Unmasked album. The powerhouse he became on those albums was attributed to his 1978 solo album, which doesn't exist. Okay, just Ace bringing material. So, track 1, like I said, Paul, Tonight You Belong to Me. Track 2, Radioactive from Gene. Track 3, now we can get an Ace song. And what song would they put on there? New York Groove. It was released as a single. To me, it's not one of the better songs on the album. A lot of people love this song. Me, personally, I can do without it. But so, yeah, New York Groove would be track number 3. Now, we got to get back to Paul or Gene. Can't go on to Peter just yet. You know, we gotta get back to Paul or Gene. So, makes sense for me. Let's go back to Paul, and we have Move On. So, Move On's a great. It's not one of my favorite songs on the album, but it's on Paul's album. But these I'm not. Now remember, I'm not picking my favorite songs, even though I love Tonight You Belong to Me and I love Radioactive and I'm okay with New York Groove. I'm not the biggest fan of Move On. Even if you take the background singers out of it, I'm still not the biggest fan about it. But it would sounded like what a Kiss song during that time would have sounded like. These are the ones that I think that the politics of the band and the songs that they could have made sound like Kiss songs. And so, Move On. And then we get a Peter song. It's the last song on the first side of the album. So we're gonna pull in, and the song I'm gonna throw, I'm gonna throw you a curveball, because y'all gonna be like, what? Why that song? This is not one of my favorite songs off of Peter's album, but it's the one that I feel like it's a typical Kiss Peter-esque song, and that would be Hooked on Rock and Roll. It's very hooliganish, and so, you know, it wouldn't have had all the horns and all that crap. Take the horns out of it. I'm saying these would have been recorded in Kiss styling. I think Hooked on Rock and Roll would have been Peter's contribution to this point. Will Peter get another song? Peter sometimes only gets one song. Remember, he only got Hooligan. He only got Dirty Living. Sometimes Peter only gets one song. So we're going to flip the vinyl, and since Gene, if you guys, you didn't go, if you grew up during this time, you know what I'm about to say is true. During the 70s, the late 70s, when Kiss blew up, Kiss was known as a band. But to this day, and it all started in the 70s, the most recognized member and the member that most people know by name, with or without makeup, is Gene Simmons. Gene Simmons was huge during this time. He was dating Cher, he was dating Diana Ross, and you know, he was huge during this time. He was actually dating Cher, or met Cher during, I don't know if he was dating Diana Ross during this time, before or after, I don't know the timeline, but I know he met Cher during this time, and I think he dated her after that, but I know he dated both. And Gene was just huge during this time. So Gene's ego during this time was huge. So, and Paul's was just as big. Paul had something to prove. Paul was the lead singer of the biggest band in the world. So Paul had something to prove too. So you would have had a song like Living in Sin, which would have probably still had Cher on it. And it would have been made Kiss the way Kiss does it. But it would have led off the second side just as Paul led off the first side. So, and then, since we had a Gene song open, we're going to have a Paul song. There's no other way about it. So I would have put in It's Alright. And to me, It's Alright is alright. It's not one of my favorite songs off Paul's album, but it's a Kiss song. You can't deny that It's Alright is a Kiss song. So we would have had It's Alright on there. Then, like I said, I know you guys are going, where's more Ace? Where's more Ace? Ace is not a factor at this point. You have to remember, Ace is going to be lucky to get 2 songs on this album. He got 1 song on Shock Me, and if you take away all of the live songs and just go to the 4th side of the Live 2 album, Ace only got 1 song. Peter didn't get a song at all, and Ace only got 1 song. So the other 2 were Paul and Gene. So this album is still going to be very heavy Gene and Paul, with a little more Ace. So, but not yet. And it's not going to be the song you think. But after It's Alright, like I said, on the second side we have Living in Sin, It's Alright, and then we're back to Gene for Burning Up with Fever. Because, like I said, why not? Gene was huge at this time. And so Gene was even though Paul was the lead singer, Gene Simmons was seen as the face. And he's still a lot seen as the face of Kiss. Even though we all know who's calling the shots in Kiss these days, Gene was seen as the face of Kiss during this time. And so we would have had Burning Up with Fever, something like that. Then track number 4, next to the last track on the album, we would have had an Ace song. And in my opinion, that song would have been Rip It Out. Rip It Out sounds very much Kiss, and Rip It Out is a great song. I like it hands down better than New York Groove. But even then, Rip It Out is not one of my more favorite songs on Ace's album. But a lot of my more favorite songs on Ace's album would not have made it. Ozone, Snowblind, Wiped Out, Fractured Mirror, an instrumental. They had not had an instrumental since the first album. So, you know, an instrumental would have not made it here. So, but Rip It Out would have. And so Rip It Out would be my song, my last Ace song. And then we come to the last track on the album. Who's it going to be? Is it going to be Peter? No. Peter has already got his song. Is it going to be another Ace song? No. Is it going to be another Gene song? No. Because in the end, Paul's going to have more songs on the album. And so it has to be a Paul song. And what a good way to end an album with a song as epic as a song like "Take Me Away, Together as One." It's not a Kiss, it's not exactly a Kiss song, but I think it would have been. Kiss always kind of throws you that one little curveball. And although "Hooked on Rock and Roll" may have seemed like it, Peter's songs were always kind of weird and not like any other song on the album anyway, which is a good thing sometimes, and a bad thing sometimes. But "Take Me Away, Together as One." It's my fucking favorite song on Paul's album, and so I would be really happy to see it close this album off. So, in recapping, the album that Kiss probably, that resembles most likely what Kiss would have done with, they had no influence from us, just with the political agendas going on in Kiss during the time, and there were a lot of them, and the egos that was going on, and there was a lot of them, and the drug use that was going on by some members, and there was a lot of it. We would have had an album that would be "Tonight You Belong to Me," "Radioactive," "New York Groove," "Move On," "Hooked on Rock and Roll," "Living in Sin," "It's Alright," "Burning Up with Fever," "Rip It Out," and "Take Me Away, Together as One." So, I got to read some of these comments. Let's see. Bethany says, okay, guys, yeah, read Bethany's there if you haven't read it already. I know that list, and she sent me that. Hard to copy and paste the list. Rick, that is a good. "Radioactive," "Fractured Mirror," and "Opener" and "Closer" are perfect. Yeah, but Rick, I agree, but you're not going to get Fractured Mirror on a Kiss album. You wasn't going to get it. And you wasn't going to get Gene opening an album. Even though Gene was the figurehead at the time, it still would open with a Paul song. But Bethany, I'm not dissing your list. I'm not dissing your list. Anybody, if you put your list, don't think I'm dissing your list at all, because these are your lists and everything. So these are your lists, and I think that they're all great. That's why I want to hear them. Bethany, he was with Cher in the late 70s. Yeah, he was. What do I think's the best Kiss solo? Oh, we got a new one. A new person joined us. Mathis? I don't know if I'm horrible at pronouncing names. Please excuse me. What do I think is the best solo album of the four? I talked about that in the last episode in the live stream, and it's my favorite solo album of the four is Ace's, but tomorrow it might be Paul's, and today it might, and then the next day it might be Ace's. My favorite album is going to always teeter back and forth between those two, all depending on what mood I'm in. I think all four of the members of Kiss put in a damn hard work, or put in hard work, and they were true to themselves. Each one of them made the album that they wanted to make. Gene made the album he wanted to make. Peter made the album he wanted to make. They made albums that were true to themselves and as different and iconic as their own personalities. Now, whether it connected the different degrees of the fans it connected with, that's beside the point. But I commend all four of them for making the album that they wanted to make, especially Gene and Peter, because for them to make the albums that they made that did not sound the two least that sounded like Kiss, huge balls to do that. They just, I mean, but Paul did what he does. Paul made the most Kiss-like sounding album, even though there's some songs on there that don't sound like Kiss. And Ace made I've got a chip on my shoulder because Paul and Gene just came to me and asked me if I needed help making my solo album because I'm such a fuck up. So I have a huge chip on my shoulder that I'm going to pull off and beat you over the head with it whenever my album comes out and kicks all of y'all's asses. So, but I have a love for Paul's albums, and there's songs off each album that I absolutely love and adore. And so that kind of leads into my next list. What if I made the 1978 solo album? So this is what this list is going to be. Let's see. Oh, so you're Danish. Okay, that's cool. Most of Kiss like solo albums. Most Kiss like solo albums is Paul's. Yes, it is. Best I would vote Ace. My favorite Gene's. Most like Kiss like Paul. Yep. Simply Fun Peter. And Mathis prefers. And like I said, there's days. I don't know if anybody else does this, and if you do it, tell me that you do it. There's days where I will just be in here in my room, and I'm not in here making videos. I'm in here reading one of my books or something, and I've got the record player here, and I will spin all 4 of the solo albums, one right after another. And the order I play them in is the order of the posters. So if you know, the posters go in a specific order because they have flat ends on the first side of the poster, on the left side, and on the right side. And then they have the jigsaws in the middle where it puts the posters together. And so I will play them in the order of the posters. And I just have a day where I'm just in here doing that. And sometimes I may go around through them twice, because it is really cool to hear one right after the other, the different dynamics in these 4 talented guys that created this amazing band that we all love so much. Just the talent that they had and things that they've done. I posted something on my social media the other day about Kiss, and I said it's simply monumental. The amount of albums they put out in the amount of time that they did, and that they either all went gold or platinum, and they put them out in such a short amount of time. At one point in time in their early part of their career, they were putting albums out every 6 months. It's phenomenal. And the only band for all 4 members, or all members, to ever release solo albums on the same day. Monumental. Nobody else has done it. I don't know if anybody else will ever do it. But it's just phenomenal what they did. In the amount of time that they did, from 73, 74 to 79, what they did in that small amount of time as a band is just crazy phenomenal. Let me catch up on some things here. I actually listened to the songs Ace wrote in Kiss's first 3 studio albums. The song he brought to the band were the heaviest. That's true. I always wanted to go see one of the old-time Kiss shows. Never got a chance since I was 16. Wish I was born way earlier. Oh, since you're 16. Wow, Mathis, that's cool. You're only 16. I love seeing young Kiss fans. My son, he's a little older than you. He's 23, but he never really was a Kiss fan until he started doing reviews with me. And now Kiss is one of his favorite bands, and he listens to them all the time. And he really appreciates them for their musicianship, their songwriting, especially their songwriting. He's a big fan of Ace as far as a guitarist, and he's a big fan of Paul as far as songwriting. And like I've said before, that I think Peter has the best voice in Kiss, even though Paul has the voice of Kiss. I think Peter has the best voice. I think Ace is the best guitar player in Kiss, but I think that Paul writes the best songs, or he is the best songwriter. Ace has wrote some good songs and writes some rockers, but Paul, there's something about a Paul Stanley song whenever he writes it and he's nailing it, especially like the ones on his album, on his solo album, and some of the first Kiss albums, the first 6 Kiss albums, he just nails it. And even on some of the latter Kiss albums, he does a really good job. Little Russian, you're a drummer. I'm a drummer too. That's awesome to hear. I always love a little drummer. How long you been playing? I've been playing since I was 7, so I'm getting ready to turn 50. So carry the 1. I've been playing 43 years, and I've been in bands off and on since I was 10, 11, somewhere around there, 11, 12, probably 11 or 12, somewhere around in there. So let me do this next list. This is the list here. If I could, if I picked the songs to go on the 1978 album, if I picked them, this is what it would look like. If I made me a 10-song playlist, this is what it would be. Track 1, side 1, I'm going to do 10 songs. Track 1, side 1 would be Rip It Out. And like I said, it's not my favorite Ace song, but off that album, but it's got that freaking Anton Fig drum solo in it, and the, oh God, I mean, you gotta have that drum solo. So you have to have Rip It Out. I like Rip It Out, but it's more of the played out of, you know, everybody, you ask people what their favorite song is off Ace Frehley's solo album. It's either one of the three. It's either Rip It Out, New York Groove, or Fractured Mirror. I like the songs that fall in between those cracks. I like these songs. So, going to talk about, but I would, Rip It Out's a great way to start an album. He starts his album with it, so I start my album with it. Then, the next track is Paul's song, It's Alright. And like I said, it's not my favorite song, but it's the song that I think would have been a best Kiss song at the time to go on this album. Because I'm still making this album. This is not for my benefit. This is an album that I believe would have been sold, could have been sold to the masses in 1978. Setting politics of the band aside, setting the internal temperature, which was very unstable at the time of the band, setting aside the egos, and me being the guy saying, for the record company saying, this is the album you're going to record, this is the album you're going to put out. So I would have started it with Rip It Out, then we'd have had It's Alright, and then we'd have done Radioactive. So, you know, I've hit, you know, 3 mainly popular songs there, and I've got Ace, Paul, and Gene out of the way. So then I would circle back around and I would have put on Ozone. I would have liked to hear Ozone recorded as a Kiss song. Could you imagine Ozone recorded as a Kiss song? And it might not have been as much different as you think, because if you think about it, Shock Me was the most Kiss-like sounding song that Ace did in Kiss. Rocket Ride didn't sound like a Kiss song. Rocket Ride to me sounded more like this is what Ace Frehley's solo album is going to sound like. And so, and then Ace Frehley's solo album had its sound. And then 2000 Man and almost every single song on Dynasty, they did not sound like Kiss songs. They sounded like Ace Frehley solo songs stuck inside of a Kiss album. So I think Ozone would have been very, very much the same. Just as Rocket Ride don't sound like any of the other 5 tracks that's on the side 4 of Kiss Alive 2, and 2000 Man and Save Your Love and Hard Times, they sound different than the other tracks on Dynasty. I think Ozone would have done really well on here, and it would have sounded more Kiss-esque, but it would have still sounded very much like an Ace Frehley solo song. And then I would have ended the first track, the first side, with the song Easy Thing from Peter Criss. One of my favorite songs off his album. It's slow. We get kind of a love song, but we don't get it from Paul. We get it from Peter, because Peter has those, you know, Hard Luck Woman songs and stuff like that. So, and Beth. So we get an Easy Thing. We get a slow song from Peter, and that finishes out the first side for me. So, and that also gives me a song from each member of the band. Gives me 2 from Ace. I don't know if you see the trend I'm going to be going in here. So then the second side we're going to start off with a Paul song. And we're going to do Tonight You Belong to Me, which is a great song. I love Tonight You Belong to Me. It's not my favorite song off the album. My favorite, like I said, my favorite song off the Paul album, I'm going to go ahead and spoiler alert here. My favorite song off Paul's album is not going to be on here, because I don't think it would have been pulled off on this Kiss album, dictated by me. I know that sounds weird, and it's kind of hard to understand, but, you know, it is what it is. So, Tonight You Belong to Me starts the second side. And then Snowblind is the second track. Back to an Ace track, the third of the album. Snowblind's a great song. I think it would have fit very well on here. The up-tempo, the double-time guitar solo that's on it is just great. It's got that heavy riff. You know, I think that would have worked really well. So then we're going to do, well, I made a mistake. Holy crap. I made a mistake because I didn't have it written all the way out. I'm sorry, guys. I just lied to you, every single one of you. And if I was making a video, this would have been cut out. But it's live, so I can't cut it out. So you get to see if I messed up. And I did mess up badly. But Take Me Away is actually on my album. I just got Take Me Away. I don't have Together as One on it. It just says Take Me Away there. So, but Take Me Away Together as One. Yeah, like I said, I think it'd be a great addition to a Kiss album. Just forget everything I said a little bit ago. You know, that's the power of editing. And any of you who make content, Rick, I know that you do. You know the power of editing to cut stuff out is a wonderful thing. It makes us look better than we really are. Then I'm In Need of Love from Ace. The next to last track, I'm In Need of Love from Ace. And I know you Gene people are going, what the hell? Where's Gene? I don't think very many songs on Gene's album would have been something that an A&R rep would have said, okay, you know, I don't think they would have been. So then we have I'm In Need of Love from Ace. And then the very last track, I'm going to throw Peter a second bone, and I'm going to put on there, I Can't Stop the Rain. So if I picked the songs, it would be Rip It Out, It's Alright, Radioactive, Ozone, Easy Thing, Tonight You Belong to Me, Snowblind, Take Me Away, Together as One, I'm In Need of Love, and I Can't Stop the Rain. So that's just what I would do. But let's see. Let me check up on chats here. God, I got a lot of chats to check up on, guys. Hold on just a second. Little Russian started when he was 11. So cool. 5 years. It's awesome. Matthias started when he was 5. That's awesome, guys. I love seeing you guys interact. I love when you guys are talking and stuff and everything. It doesn't bother me at all to see you guys chatting and interacting because I love that. That's awesome. That's amazing. The only other thing I've really got, and I wanted this to last about maybe an hour and a half to 2 hours, and so we're approaching an hour and a half. So I wanted to leave some time to ask questions. If anybody had questions they wanted to ask. And I will show you, somebody asked me to start showing off some things that's behind me. I do it a lot in my Patreon behind the scenes videos that are Patreon exclusives. So somebody asked if I would show some things that's behind me. So I'd be fine to do that. But we'll do a little poll. I'll do a poll. Do you want to see something from the top up here? Or do you want to see something from this section, which is cassettes and 8-tracks and stuff like that, CDs? Do you want to see something from this section right here, which is mostly books and DVDs? Do you want to see something from this section, which is some more albums and some games? Or would you like to see something from this section right in here, which is like games that adults play? When we have adult game night. Somebody chime in, and I'll take a couple minutes to show some stuff off, or maybe show some weird stuff. And it doesn't have to just be one thing. I can show a few. I may show some stuff just to make. I may show some what the hell factor kind of stuff. Little Russian wants to know if I have. Little Russian wants to know if I have a vintage record. Vintage Kiss record? Or vintage record in general? I'll show you something that is vintage to most people. Probably seen this in some of my videos before. This is a telephone. This is the original out of my mother-in-law's house. And I don't know why it's so rusted on the bottom. This is a vintage, actual real phone, and I think the insides are rusted as well. But this is a real, and it's a red phone, and I don't know why it would be red, but this was a real phone that was in use. And you know, do you remember when you were kids, for the old people here, when you'd have a phone like this, and you'd have a real long cord on it, or the cord here would be really long, but usually it was here, and you'd have a real long cord on it, and you'd stretch it all the way into your room, and you'd sit in there and talk until one of your parents said that they needed to use the phone and you had to get off. Or if you had another phone in your house, they picked the line up and told you to get off the phone. Yeah, the hotline phone from Batman. Yeah. How much Kiss merch do you have? Little Russian. Nowhere near as much as Rick does. I lost a lot of mine. I will show you something that I recently pulled out of storage. It's up here, but it's not vintage. This is from 1999, and the box has kind of gotten dinged up a little bit being in storage, but this is Ace Frehley, and it's still in the packaging. It's not been opened. It's still sealed, and it's got a card on the back. I think this is from the reunion. Yeah, this is from the reunion, because you can see the picture right there on the front. And so this is number 4,265 of 25,000. So they made quite a bit of them. And they had like really big heads. They're called rock headliners. Headliners. Haha, get it? Headliners XL, because that's a big head. But yeah, I found that in storage. And so yeah, so I have that. I'll put that right there. Just wanting to see, let's see, a vintage Kiss album. The oldest vintage Kiss album I probably have, as far as age, is I don't have a original version of the first Kiss album. I'm looking for a blue label without Kissin' Time on it. And I'd like to have a blue label with Kissin' Time on it. But the first presses don't have Kissin' Time. That got added later. But I don't have a vintage of this album. My oldest album that I have, as far as it would be, since Hotter Than Hell was the second album that was made, this is vintage. It's catalog MBLP 7006. And so there's the front. Here's the back of it. And the album looks like this. So that is probably my oldest album, since it's only the second album, and it's close to either being a first or second press. It is the oldest of all the Kiss albums that I have. So what else we got? What's my most prized Kiss item? Probably my Kiss jacket, if I can find it. My Kiss jacket, it's the Tyvek jacket with the flames on it. And I also have, now I don't know if a lot of you are new, and I don't know who's new and who's not, but I lost all of my original collection. Like I said, I've been a Kiss fan since I was 7, 8 years old. And I lost all of it. I had everything. I had the trash can, the makeup kits, the costumes, the cards, the posters, the foil posters, I had everything, man. The Mylar posters, I had it all. The radios, the guitars, if they made it, I had it. My mom spoiled the shit out of me, and so if they made it, I had it. And I don't have any of it now. I had all the original albums. I don't have any of it now because it all got stolen. And I don't know if I tell that story with me and Rick. I don't know if I told that story and then I cut it out. I can't remember. But I do have this. This is an original buckle. Now, it's got a lot of the plastic protective covering chipped off of it. But This is my buckle from when I was 8 years old. Little 8-year-old Brant wearing this buckle. But it is an original. It's got the date stamped on the back. It says a coin, 1977, Pacifica Manufacturing is on the back of it there. I don't know how well you can see that. My thing don't focus. I got it on this. But yeah, that's my Love Gun belt buckle. That probably is, I mean, I had this when I was a kid. I mean, these albums, even though they're old, I didn't have them when I was a kid. Not these physical things, but this physical thing I'm touching, I had when I was a kid. And that means a lot to me. So that's why I keep it close by. I keep it right there behind me. And, I come in here and I see it. Now, if I can find my Kiss jacket, that's prized to me too. But my Kiss jacket is prized, very, very prized to me if I can find it. Let's see. Do you have a kitchen phone on the wall? No, we don't even have a phone in our house. When we built our house, we didn't even have them put in wiring for phones. We all use cell phones. We couldn't hook a phone up in this house if we wanted to. Do you have any special Def Leppard, Motley Crue stuff? And have you seen the Dirt? Yes, Mathis. We talked about the Dirt quite a bit. And I do have the Def Leppard I have behind me is Pyromania. And I have a sealed copy of Shout at the Devil. And then my copy back there of the one of the copies of Too Fast for Love. I have those back there. And I've seen the Dirt 3 times so far. And I will watch it again today. Probably before the feed tonight, I will have watched the Dirt again. And I know, Rick, I know you haven't watched it yet. At least you didn't. You said you hadn't watched it yet. So I want to definitely hear your thoughts tonight, man. Rick, hey, contact me because I may have you Skype in tonight. If you make it to the thing, if you feel like it, just give me a message on Instagram, the way we communicate. And because I'd like to maybe possibly have you on to hear your thoughts about it. Let's see. Gene URB, watching the Dirt movie. Oh my God, this is awesome. It is. It is. And there's something that happens in like the first, don't spoil it because there's a lot of people that haven't seen it. But there's something that happens in like the first 5 minutes of the movie. And when it happened, I was like, oh my God, that didn't just happen. You'll know what I'm talking about when you see it. See, rewatching it today. I also think rewatching it today and tomorrow. See, when Kiss Meets the Phantom came out, a whole family, cousins, everything around the TV. Halfway through the movie, room was empty but me. The solo albums don't do it for me. More than Kiss is Gone Disco. What were those Polygram special records you were mentioning last stream? The Polygram records, Rick? I'm not sure. Can you refresh my memory a little bit? I was out and came back around the MTV Unplugged. What an incredible career. If you could only keep one item, what would you keep? Oh, the Priceless Edition. Okay, I'll show you that. I'll show the Priceless Edition thing for you in just a second. If I could keep one item, what would I keep? Ooh. And had that buckle also. If I could keep one item, what would I keep? Wow. That's hard. Man, that's a tough question. I would probably have to, if my house was on fire and I had to grab something, and if I felt like it was something that I couldn't replace, honestly, I know this is going to sound kind of shitty, but since I haven't found my jacket yet, I would probably grab this because, yeah, I could probably go on eBay and buy one of these, but it wouldn't be the one that I used to wear to school. This wouldn't be the one. The reason why this looks the way it did was because I wore it. The stuff's knocked all of it off of it, and it's yellowed and banged all to hell because I wore this thing. I wore it proudly, along with all my other Kiss shirts. And of all the stuff through the years that I've owned, excuse me, the only thing I have left from my original childhood is this. Like I said, little 7-year-old Brant, 8-year-old Brant wearing this, and my jacket. It came out in '78. You know, my jacket. So these albums, even this one, I mean, like this one, this is an original, but I bought this at a record store maybe about 2 months ago for $12. So these can be, every single one of these albums you see here, and I'm going to kind of pan over a little bit here so you can see them. But every single one of these albums you see here, there are a bunch of duplicates. Like I have several copies of, if you see here, I've got several copies of Rock and Roll Over. They're all different. I've got several copies of a bunch of the albums. These have all been bought within the last year. I started rebuilding my collection whenever I started rebuilding my collection whenever I decided to start making Kiss videos. And a lot of them I bought as I was coming up on the opportunity or the time to review them. So every bit of this could not cheaply or easily be replaced, but it could be replaced. Everything behind me could be replaced. But, you know, but this here, and it actually, me having a belt buckle that's actually been on my body and has been with me in some shape or form for the last 47 years, or 43 years, can't be replaced. So yeah, so I would grab the buckle, and I would cheat because I'd wrap the buckle up in my Kiss jacket if I found it. Like right now, if my house was burned down, I'd have to leave the Kiss jacket because I can't find it. Did I have Kiss hark on you because I like Kiss? I used to get my ass beat for liking Kiss. I used to get made fun of for liking Kiss. Kiss has always been one of those bands you either had, you met people, and the cool people was, yeah, Kiss rocks, you know, or it was like, Kiss sucks, and you suck, so I'm going to beat your ass because you like, you know. So you hung out with the Kiss rocks people, and you stayed away from the Kiss sucks people. But yeah, but I still wear my Kiss shirts. The vintage Dynasty shirt that you see that's got Kiss around it, it's got their faces and got Kiss around it. I had that shirt. I had the Animalized shirt that you see. I had the Kiss shirt that had the yellow Kiss T-shirt that had the Alive 2 cover on it. I had that shirt, and I wore them to school. I took my Kiss. All of my Kiss albums back in the day, the corners of them were bent, like really badly, because I would put them in, I'd stuff them in my gym bag or my book bag, and I'd take my Kiss albums to school. And there was no record player to play. I mean, you know, the media center had record players, but they weren't going to let you play Kiss records. They only would play what they wanted to. So I'd take my Kiss records to school with me. So yeah, I remember when the 4 solo albums out. I took the 4 solo albums and the bag that I got them in. I took them to school too. So Rick asked a question. He asked about the Priceless collection, and we kind of touched on it in the first in the live feed that I did last time. There is a copy of a live that I have is considered part of the Priceless collection. That came out, and it's by saying priceless, that doesn't mean it's priceless. It's just that's what they called it, and I think it was more of a Canadian thing. But I'm going to pull out my lives here, and yep, that's all my lives. So I've got 1, 2, 3, 4 lives. I've got 4 of them, and they're all different in one way or the other. But the thing about, if I show you a regular Alive, I'll go over what I got real quick. I know I've done this before. This is my 2014 reissue, 180 gram. It's still sealed. It's never been opened. This is one of my original versions of Kiss Alive, and it's got the book in it. This is actually, no, No, I'm wrong. See, that'd be a cut. Let me do that, and that's the priceless collection one. So let me do that one last, because it's different. So then I have this one that looks just like the other ones, and it's got the book, it's got the insert. So this is what you want to look for when you're looking for an Alive. Is there's not going to be a barcode. No barcode nowhere, because barcodes did not exist. And this one's pretty good shape. It's got some ring wear, but it's in pretty decent shape. The spine's in decent shape. And so inside, if you look at the inside, it's got the notes that was written by Kiss to the fans, which I thought was really cool. And then it's got the albums that had come out up to this point, you know, promoting the first 3 albums. It's like, hey, you like this album and you're buying it, go back and buy these 3 albums, because they didn't sell for shit. So, and of course, you know, the album sales of the first 3 albums skyrocketed. To some people, this is the iconic must-have Kiss album, the Kiss Alive album, because it basically takes the best, what Kiss considered the best of the first 3 albums, and put them in one album in a heck of a live performance. Different varying degrees of live. But the actual, then there's an insert that comes with it. And the insert on this one is kind of weathered. It's kind of little, it's got a little weathering to it. Like you can see it if I catch it just right. It's like slight wrinkling, like something's been laid on top of it. But it's still in good shape. It's got Peter, and it's got Gene. And then on the inside, it's got it's got that kind of stuff. And then you got Paul, and then you have Ace, and then you have the shot of the band at the end, at the back. And what your albums would look like is you would have 2, and your album sleeves would look like this. And on the back side, it's going to have promoting other Casablanca artists, and it's got Kiss on there. It's got Dress to Kill, Hotter Than Hell. It's got the first Kiss album, and it's got and they've even got down here includes Nothing to Lose, Strutter, Deuce, and Black Diamond, saying, hey, if you want those songs, that's the one you need to buy. And then the way on the inside the albums, the album is a Bogey Blue label album. And this one is, for those of you album nerds, this is MBLP 7020. And I tell you, if you're going to catalog any albums, I catalog all my stuff through Discogs. I have an app on my phone, and I catalog all my stuff through Discogs. You can buy it, and then you can put it in. And you can even create a wish list. So when I'm in a store and I run into an album, and I want to see if the album's in my collection or not, I can type in the album, the MBLP number, and it'll tell me if it's in my collection or if it's in my wish list. And if it's in my collection, I consider, well, do I want to buy another one for my collection and have a duplicate, having a second or a third, or do I want to pass, or it'll let me know if it's not in my collection. So, and then I have another Alive, and I think I had this one first, and it is not, the album itself is not in as good shape. The spine's in really bad shape. The case is in really bad shape. But it does also have the book, and the book itself seems to be in better shape. It's not wrinkled like the other one is. And then it also has the Casablanca camel dust sleeves. And then on the inside, it has the Bogey label. And this is the MBLP 7020 also. So, and it has that. So, and I think I had this one first. And a lot of times when I find an album, if I don't have an original, what I'll do is I'll buy what's called a placeholder. What collectors call a placeholder. And if you're collecting for, you want a better copy of something, then what you do is when you find one, if you don't have it, even if it's in crappy shape, like if it's total trash, I won't buy it. Or if it's got something in it I want, like an insert. A lot of times I've asked people, hey, can I have the insert out of this? And they've sold it to me for, you know, a quarter of the price of the album or whatever. I had one guy, he's like, nope, it's sold as a whole. So I had to buy the whole thing to get the insert. But sometimes you buy what's called a placeholder, and that placeholder holds the place until you find you something better. So I have things in my collection that's marked as placeholders. Bethany wants to know, do I own any of the 45s? Yes, I do. And I'll show you in a minute what I do own. Is there anything that the KISS band members could do that could make you disagree with them? Little Russian. Oh, yeah. All the time. They're currently doing a couple things that I disagree with. And I'll loop back to that if you guys care. Or I can tell you real quick. One, using backing tracks. And two, having two members dressed up as the Spaceman and the Catman. I don't agree with either of those. But anyway. So, this is the Princess collection, or the Priceless collection. And it looks identical on the front. But then when you go to look at, and it's even got a book inside of it that looks identical. We were looking at the book. And these aren't the only, this isn't the only release. There's other releases, but this was released when Polygram bought the collection. And like I said, this lost the staples, so it's kind of coming apart, which is not uncommon. But when Polygram bought it, and I think, like I said, this is a Canadian release, they released what's been called the Princess collection, or the Priceless collection. And so if you look at the front, you see how it's really glossy. It's the other album was I was showing it, you didn't see it was very glossy. It has a very gloss finish to it. On the back, if you look, you see this right here where it says phonogram. And then up here in this very corner, it has a catalog number called PRID 3. Right in that area right there. It says PRID 3. And the weird thing about this album is if you open it up, it's got the notes and everything right there. But then More Kiss is the first Kiss album. The first Kiss album, Destroyer, and Dynasty. So yeah. So from what I can tell, this was released in 1982 is what that looks like. This is a 1982 release, and they call it Phonogram, and this is the dust sleeves. It just has on here, you know, this is unauthorized recording. The dust sleeves are made in Great Britain, which is kind of weird, but I've heard this as a Canadian release. And then whenever you look at the album, this is side 4. So you see that right there. And what that says on it is PRID 3, 1974 Polygram Records. But I don't see, and it says original sound recordings made by Polygram Records, New York. But I don't really see a date on there other than 1982. So I'm sorry, I'm blind close up. But yeah. So, and Rick, if you want to look that up, if you just look up that, this release number, like I said, it's PRID 3, and the cassettes are PRID C3. They've got that on there for some reason. You'll see that that's part of that collection. Now, as far as 45s goes, I've got a 45 for, I usually keep the 45s with the albums. So I think somewhere I have a 45 for Detroit Rock City and Beth, if I'm not mistaken. If I can find it. I've got a bunch of Destroyers. Yeah. So here's a 45 I've gotten, and it's got Beth on the B side. No, the A side. It's A side Beth. And then Detroit City on the B side. So I've got that. And I've also got, let me see what else. I don't know what else I might have. Oh, hey, if y'all are in the live stream and I said I can't find my 2014, the last live stream, I said I couldn't find my 2014 Love Gun. I had it. It was in the middle of my, it was in between Destroyer and Rock and Roll Over. It was in the wrong place. Kiss, let's see, solo albums, Dynasty. I have Dynasty. I have a 45 for Dynasty. This is Hard Times on side B, and I Was Made for Loving You on side A. I have that. And then the other single I have is not really a 45. This is a German 45 maxi single for I Was Made for Loving You and Hard Times. And it's on like a big album. It looks kind of weird because it doesn't fill up, the song doesn't fill the whole album up. So you can see there's a lot of run out. I don't know how well you can see that. Probably can't see it worth crap. There's a lot of run out on that album. So yeah, so what other questions we got? All right, Little Russian, man, I appreciate you hanging out. First Kiss record was a 45 New York Groove. I thought were the Beatles. That's cool. Worked in a music store. We had a single of I Was Made for Loving You. That's awesome. Thanks, Beth. Thanks, Beth. I really appreciate that compliment of nice collection. You know, I really hate that my collection, that I've had to rebuild it. But in rebuilding it, I really have enjoyed rebuilding it. I love going out to record stores. I've made several videos of me going out to record stores, and I really love that. I've also had viewers send me records. Paul, one of my viewers from Florida, sent me a bunch of records, and you know, I really, you know, it really humbled me that he did that, and that just helped with my collection of the solo albums. And he sent me some better improvements of albums. I think he sent me a Destroyer and a Dress to Kill, and you know, some things like that. I'm looking for something to go up on this wall here. I do have one. You know, I told you I had a fan send me that poster, and I didn't show it earlier, but I have one wall left to put some stuff right here, and I want to put something. I want to put something right there, but I'm kind of holding out a little bit to put something there. But I want to put something right there. Anyway. So we're right at about 2 hours. So I feel like it's a good time to go ahead and cut this one for today. Like I said, I will be back. I'm going to go get some lunch and maybe watch The Dirt again for the 4th time. And I will be back at 9 o'clock tonight. That's 9 o'clock p.m. Eastern Standard Time, which on the West Coast is 6, I believe, and all the way forward into Germany, into that area, it's going to be pretty late. It's going to be like, I think they're right now 5 hours ahead of us because they haven't had their daylight savings time yet. So it'll be about 2 in the morning there. So, you know, so most people over across the seas are not going to be there. So this will be a North America, South America, America's thing. But never know, we might have some night owls over there. But anyway, I'm going to go ahead and sign this one off. I appreciate everybody coming and hanging out. It's been fun. I love doing this. I love live interacting. It's kind of nerve-wracking being live and, you know, making mistakes, saying something wrong, stumbling over myself. I cut a lot of that out of my videos, but you know, but it's been cool hanging out. I really appreciate everybody that's been here. Yeah, so you know, you should put an Ibanez Paul Stanley. I can't afford an Ibanez Paul Stanley. Putting it up there, I can't afford that. That's more expensive than I can afford. But anyway, I hope to see each and every one of you back tonight. And I think we're going to have a pretty big crowd tonight. So I'm looking forward to it. I'm looking forward to the interaction. I've got some other things to talk about tonight. There may be a little bit of rehashing. And you guys just hopefully you're not bored because you got to hear it early. I am going to be back with that 20-song live album from the 70s, and I want to hear what you guys think, and I would like to hear what you guys would make an album. You can, maybe quote it in there, or, put it in the chat and everything. So anyway, I'm going to go ahead and get off here. I'm Brant in my head channel. Thanks for hanging out for this live feed, and I'll see you later. If not tonight, I'll see you later on some other time. Thanks, guys. Thanks for watching.